Welcome to The Good Ride. I'm James Beastie. Today we're talking about the Nitro banker. I got this in a decent amount of conditions, a little bit of late spring powder that was actually pretty good, and some good groomers. I often compared this to the alternator, which has some inspiration from the banker as well as the team. I rode this with Union Force, Union Atlas, and primarily the Ride Deadbolts. When it comes to sizing, this 59 fit me pretty well. I think if I was going to buy this, I'd get the 56. Now let's talk snowboard dating apps, some things that'll make you want to swipe right. This has a very dynamic, poppy flex, but it handles uneven snow very well. This has pretty good directional float in powder, and it's a pretty fun one-board quiver. Some things that'll make you want to swipe left. If you're a beginner or intermediate, this has full camber, and it can thump you if you catch an edge. And I just want to take a moment to talk about my sponsor that's helping us bring honest and objective content to you. Flower Board Shop. They have a strong online presence, do their best to match pricing like the big stores do, have fast shipping. They've been selling snowboard gear longer than some resorts have been allowing snowboarders on the hill. So if you're in the United States, give them some love. So let's talk shape. This is tapered and directional, but it only has a little bit of taper. The nose and tail are pretty close in terms of width. They're only 4 millimeters different. You do have a much longer nose, but on side cut, you're pretty centered, and it feels pretty centered on board. It doesn't have that typical tapered directional feel. It lives on that border between freeride and all mountain. When it comes to camber, this is full-on camber. It's got a good amount of camber in the middle here. I can get my fingers underneath it and just lift it up if I want to. There's a lot going on here, and it really comes down to just about where the nose begins and tail begins. So this is old school full camber, not like a lot of those boards these days that call it camber, but it actually has some early rise. This is true camber, and they're honest with their description about it. When it comes to edge hold, the banker doesn't have any extension in the edges that I can see, and it has a multi-radius side cut that grips pretty well. I wouldn't say this is a hard snow specialist, but when you hit some patches of hard snow, it's going to hold pretty well if you dial your turns back a little bit. There's a medium-ish flex to it. There's a little bit of bend in the middle, I'm feeling. It's a little stiffer in the tail. Between the feet seems a touch softer. And then there's a lot of easy flex in the nose. The nose was easy to butter. The tail was a little more work, but I found that all this camber, along with this rubbery, poppy flex, really ollies easy. It has a very good spring to it. When it comes to uneven snow, this does a great job. I never felt like this bucked me or bounced me too much out of my line when I got into thick, wet, uneven snow or hard, bumpy snow. This does a good job at keeping its edge quiet. It's not the most amazing out there, but it's really good for this flex personality, and it's a great all-day ride. When it comes to going straight and fast, for a board that's made for banked slaloms, this does really, really well. And it's mainly because this side has a more mellow entry side cut. Then it gets much deeper towards the tail. It's going to allow you to go straight, and the back doesn't feel hooky or catchy. I had no problem pointing it. It's not a bomber, but it's very competent for a board that's called the banker. It's pretty damp too, so it's not going to chatter and clown shoe when you pick up a lot of speed. Now this is after riding. This base was waxed during testing, and now it's starting to get a little dry, but the base glide was pretty good. Not exceptional, but it had good enough glide to get me through some long traverses and such. When it comes to turning, I felt like the turn initiation was a little slow for my size 9 boots with the 59. The 56 would be medium fast. This felt medium. When you get this side cut engaged, it really does have a cool turning experience that's more balanced than you would think. mainly because this side cut has such a mellow entry at 8.2 meters and then comes into 6.5 out the tail. So if you're somebody who front foot weights your carves, this isn't going to feel as turny. It'll go down the line and have a more longer drawn out turn. That's what I felt when I really weighted on the front foot. When I center weighted it, it felt pretty balanced. Then when I really leaned back into the tail and really tried to back foot weight out of a carve, it had much more of a turny feel to it. So it's fun to play around with how you weight your turns. Then of course you have full camber and all that pop, so it really gives you good spring out of the turn. I felt that this was a very good board for powder because you have a much bigger nose than tail. You've got a decent amount of setback. I would have liked to have seen an additional 2 inserts. That would be even better. But as it stands right now, if you set it all the way back with a full-size disc, at a 22-inch stance width, you can get 3.1875 back from center of board. I thought it would be worse because sometimes a full camber board doesn't do that well, but they compensated for it with a much bigger nose than tail. That little bit of taper helps it sink a little bit better, but I will say that I did enjoy the alternator on same day powder tests. That did a little bit better. This isn't going to hang with a lot of freeride boards, which have much more set back from center of board, but it will do very well for an all-mountain board. It road switch better than I thought it would. Not amazing, but good. This would ride pipe pretty well. This would hit some kickers in the park pretty well, but not amazing. It's better for off-piste directional air more, but you can land the switch. I wouldn't want to jib with this. And overall, I thought the Banker was really fun. I think it's a good board. For me personally, I like the alternator more. I like the turning experience a little better. Like the way it rode in powder a little better. I felt like it just vibed with my riding style and personality a little better. But if what I talked about appeals to you of this Banker, you could have a beautiful life with this. I think it's a very well made, very fun board.